New York City bustled with life on a frigid winter evening, the glow of towering skyscrapers reflecting off wet streets. Amid the urban hustle, the grandeur of the Metropolitan Hall came alive as luminaries gathered to witness the launch of a groundbreaking medical innovation. Inside the hall, an air of sophistication and anticipation permeated every corner. On stage stood Ethan Graves, the 40-year-old CEO of Graves Biomedical Solutions, a company synonymous with cutting-edge healthcare technology. With his confident demeanor, Ethan spoke passionately about their latest breakthrough. His achievements were undeniable. He had turned his vision into a global empire. But behind the charisma lay a personal void. Ethan had spent years hiding a secret. A genetic condition had left him unable to have children, a fact that weighed heavily on his life despite his professional triumphs. In the crowd, Sophie Brooks, a determined investigative journalist from Boston, observed quietly. With her sharp green eyes and an innate ability to read between the lines, Sophie was no stranger to exposing the hidden agendas of powerful corporations. She wasn't just here for a routine report. She had reasons to believe Graves Biomedical harbored secrets far beyond their glossy public image. Tonight was just the beginning of an unraveling story, one that would intertwine Ethan and Sophie in ways neither could foresee. As Ethan delivered his speech on stage, Sophie watched from afar, quietly observing every detail. His commanding voice and confident posture painted the image of a powerful man, but Sophie's sharp instincts detected something deeper, a subtle vulnerability beneath the polished exterior. It was as though Ethan was hiding a part of himself, and this only fueled her curiosity. The event took a sharp turn when Victor Prescott, the CEO of Biogenomics Corp., made an unexpected entrance. Known for his aggressive tactics and hostile takeovers, Victor was a notorious figure in the medical technology industry. With a cold smile and carefully chosen words, he seemed determined to steal the spotlight. After Ethan's speech, Victor approached him in the VIP section. Sophie, passing by, overheard their tense exchange. Victor alluded to a looming threat. Anonymous investors were quietly acquiring shares of Graves Biomedical. While Ethan maintained his composure, Sophie caught a flicker of anger in his eyes. A brief but telling reaction. It was clear that Victor's words weren't just idle chatter. They were a deliberate provocation. Sophie walked away, her mind racing with questions. She knew that Graves Biomedical's story was far more complex than it appeared, and she resolved to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. After the event, Ethan left the main hall, eager to escape the mundane chatter that accompanied such grand occasions. He wandered into the hotel bar, its dim lighting and tranquil atmosphere offering a brief reprieve from the evening's intensity. Sophia was there too, sipping on a glass of red wine. She noticed Ethan sitting alone at the corner of the bar, his usually composed demeanor softened by an air of fatigue. After a moment's hesitation, she walked over, offering a small smile. "Not a fan of the crowds either, I see," she began, setting her glass on the counter. Ethan looked up and returned her smile, weary but genuine. "Let's just say, I've had my fair share of nights like this." Their conversation started with polite pleasantries, but as the wine flowed, the dialogue grew deeper. Ethan spoke about the pressures of running a medical empire and the loneliness that came with it. "Everyone sees the success," he said, swirling the wine in his glass, "but no one asks what it costs." Sophia, bold and unfiltered, didn't hesitate to challenge him. "You seem like a man who has everything, but is it really enough?" Ethan paused, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Everything comes with a price. Sometimes, I wonder if I've paid too much." The hours slipped away as the drinks kept coming. As the night deepened, the tension in Ethan's posture eased, replaced by a quiet warmth. Sophia, too, felt a surprising sense of closeness to this man she had intended to investigate. When their laughter softened into silence, Ethan leaned closer. "My room's just upstairs," he said softly. "We could continue talking there." Sophia didn't resist. Together, they rode the elevator in silence, a magnetic pull drawing them closer. Ethan's suite was cozy, bathed in the warm glow of soft yellow lights. Standing in the quiet of the room, Ethan reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from Sophia's face. His voice was low, almost a whisper. "Sophia." She didn't respond with words. Instead, she leaned in, closing the distance between them. In that moment, words became unnecessary. As the night enveloped them, they found solace in each other, forgetting the weight of the world outside. 3 months had passed since that unforgettable night. Back in Boston, Sophia was consumed by her demanding schedule. Articles, investigations, and back-to-back interviews left little room for personal reflection, or so she convinced herself. But something felt off. Fatigue became her constant companion, accompanied by bouts of morning nausea and strange food cravings. At first, she attributed it to stress, sleepless nights, or perhaps the changing seasons. Yet, as the symptoms grew more persistent, Sophia couldn't ignore the possibility. One early morning, Sophia sat on the edge of her bed, the pregnancy test trembling in her hands. Her heart raced, 1,000 thoughts swirling in her mind. When 2 red lines appeared unmistakably before her, she gasped, her breath caught in her throat. Disbelief and fear washed over her in waves. It wasn't until later, as she lay on the cold examination table at her OB/GYN's office, that the reality hit her. "Congratulations, Sophia," the doctor said warmly. "You're expecting triplets." The words echoed in her ears as she stared at the ultrasound screen. 3 tiny heartbeats thudded rhythmically, and her eyes filled with tears. How is this possible?" she whispered, her voice trembling with both wonder and fear. Sophia bolted upright, her eyes widening as she stared at the ultrasound screen showing 3 tiny synchronized heartbeats. How is this possible?" she whispered, recalling Ethan's insistence that he was unable to have children. The initial shock gave way to a growing anxiety. Ethan had the right to know, but would he believe her? After several sleepless nights, Sophia made up her mind to return to New York. When she finally stood before Ethan in his office, the tension in the room was palpable. Ethan, already embroiled in a corporate crisis, reacted with skepticism to Sophia's revelation. "That's impossible," Ethan said, his voice steady but heavy with doubt. "Every doctor I've seen told me I couldn't have children." "But it's true," Sophia replied, her gaze unwavering. "We can do a DNA test if you need proof, but you should know I'm keeping them no matter what." Torn between hope and logic, Ethan agreed. Questions flooded his mind. Was this a miracle or just a mistake? News of Sophia and Ethan's connection leaked within days, and the media wasted no time sensationalizing their story. Photos of them from the night of the event were splashed across tabloids with scandalous headlines. CEO Ethan Graves. From infertility to a shocking triplet revelation. Sophia Brooks. Investigative journalist or gold digger? Questions swirled relentlessly. How could a man previously declared infertile father triplets? Was Sophia exploiting him for fame and fortune? Meanwhile, Ethan's company, Graves Biomedical Solutions, faced mounting pressure. His rival, Victor Prescott, CEO of Biogenomics Corp., seized the opportunity to attack. Victor began spreading rumors that Ethan had used his company's technology for unauthorized fertility experiments. Back at Ethan's office, his PR team was in crisis mode. Emily Carter, the head of PR, addressed Ethan urgently. "We need to issue a statement immediately. Stocks are plummeting and the shareholders are demanding answers." Ethan rubbed his temples, his voice calm but firm. "We can't say anything until the DNA results are in. If we act prematurely, we could make things worse." Sophia, on the other hand, was dealing with a media frenzy of her own. Reporters camped outside her hotel, cameras flashing and microphones thrust in her direction whenever she stepped outside. "Sophia, did you trap Ethan Graves?" one journalist shouted. Trying to maintain her composure, Sophia ducked into a nearby cafe, clutching her phone tightly. On the screen was a message from Ethan. "The DNA test is scheduled for tomorrow. I'll be there with you." Sophia exhaled, feeling a mix of relief and apprehension. Ethan's willingness to face the truth offered her some solace, but the road ahead still felt uncertain. The day of the DNA test arrived under a cloud of tension. Sophia sat in the hospital waiting room, her eyes darting nervously toward the door. Ethan walked in, a coffee cup in hand, his face weary but his expression resolute. "Thank you for coming," Sophia said softly as Ethan took a seat beside her. "It's the right thing to do," Ethan replied in a low voice. "We need to know the truth." The doctor entered, explaining the procedure. Blood samples were taken from both Sophia and Ethan, along with a non-invasive sample from the unborn babies. Neither of them spoke throughout the process. The room was filled only with the hum of machines and the weight of unspoken fears. When it was over, Ethan turned to Sophia, his eyes a mix of doubt and determination. "No matter what the results say, I'll take responsibility," he said firmly. Sophia nodded, a flicker of relief crossing her face. "Thank you," she whispered. 3 days later, Ethan sat alone in his office, the envelope lying on his desk like a weight he wasn't ready to lift. He reached for it, his hands trembling as he tore it open. His heart pounded in his chest as he read the words. Result: Ethan Graves is the biological father. For a moment, the room seemed to spin around him. Ethan's breath caught, and he sank back into his chair, the paper still clutched in his hands, disbelief mixed with an overwhelming sense of relief and joy. His mind flashed back to every moment he had been told it was impossible, every hope he had buried. Now, against all odds, he had been given a miracle. "They're mine," he whispered, his voice breaking as tears filled his eyes. He immediately called Sophia, his voice unsteady but filled with conviction. "Sophia, they're mine. It's true." Sophia was silent for a moment before replying, her voice laced with relief. "I already knew, but hearing you say it makes it feel real." The two agreed to meet to discuss their future. Despite the media frenzy and the pressures surrounding them, this truth had given them a chance at a new beginning. While Ethan and Sophia were bracing for the challenges ahead, Victor Prescott didn't back down. Using the media as his weapon, Victor continued to attack Ethan, accusing Graves Biomedical Solutions of conducting unauthorized medical trials. The rumors caused a public uproar and sent the company's stock prices into a nosedive. But Ethan wasn't one to take such blows lying down. He secretly hired Marcus Hale, a seasoned private investigator, to look into Victor and the shady operations of Biogenomics Corp. With years of intelligence experience, Marcus quickly uncovered damning evidence. One late evening at Ethan's office, Marcus placed a thick file on his desk. "This is everything we need," he said confidently. Victor fabricated clinical trial data and bribed officials to cover up the dangerous side effects of his products. Ethan flipped through the documents, his expression hardening with every page. "He's crossed the line," Ethan said, his voice laced with anger and determination. They decided to hold an emergency shareholder meeting, where Ethan would present the evidence to the board and the media. At the meeting, Victor entered with his usual smug demeanor, but it didn't last long. Ethan stood, his voice commanding and resolute. "Before we discuss my company, let's address some pressing issues regarding Biogenomics Corp." On the large screen, the documents Marcus had gathered were displayed, each piece of evidence methodically presented to the board and shareholders. Victor Prescott manipulated trial results, bribed officials, and deliberately spread false rumors to undermine our company, Ethan concluded. The room fell silent. Shareholders who had once doubted Ethan now turned their backs on Victor. Under mounting pressure, Victor was forced to resign in disgrace. The battle was won, and Ethan had not only safeguarded his reputation but also restored the trust of his company and the public. Yet, for Ethan, the most important victory lay in the future he was building with Sophia and their unborn children. After turning the tables on Victor and securing his company, Ethan felt as though a tremendous weight had been lifted. Yet, his greatest challenge still lay ahead. Sophia, now in the final stages of her pregnancy, faced a serious complication. One morning, as Ethan was preparing for an executive meeting, his phone rang. Sophia's voice on the other end was weak but filled with concern. "Ethan, I feel dizzy and there's a sharp pain in my stomach." Dropping everything, Ethan rushed to Sophia's side and took her to the hospital. There, the doctors confirmed a dangerous complication, preeclampsia. Her blood pressure was alarmingly high and early delivery was inevitable. Dr. Philip Carter, a renowned specialist in high-risk pregnancies, explained the situation. "We'll do everything we can to ensure the safety of both mother and babies, but you need to be prepared for an emergency." Ethan held Sophia's hand tightly, his eyes resolute. "Do whatever it takes. I don't care about the cost. Just keep her and the baby safe." Hours passed as Sophia underwent surgery. Finally, she gave birth to 3 tiny but perfect babies, 2 boys and a girl. Though premature, all 3 were healthy and placed in incubators for monitoring. Ethan stood before the glass, looking at his children with a mix of awe and gratitude. For the first time, he truly understood the meaning of life beyond work and success. When Sophia woke up, Ethan was by her side, holding her hand. "You did it, Sophia. We did it." Sophia smiled weakly, tears glistening in her eyes as she glanced toward their babies. "These 3 little miracles, they're the greatest gift of my life." From that moment, Ethan knew that every decision he made would no longer be for the company alone, but for the family he had always dreamed of, but never thought possible. A few months after Sophia recovered and the babies were healthy enough to leave the hospital, Ethan decided it was time to make his dream a reality. One serene afternoon, as the family sat by the Hudson River, the golden hues of the sunset casting a magical glow, Ethan took Sophia's hand. "From the moment you walked into my life, everything changed," he began, his voice filled with emotion. "I found not just love, but the true meaning of life." Reaching into his pocket, he pulled out a simple yet elegant ring and knelt before her. "Sophia Brooks, will you marry me and help me build the family we've always dreamed of?" Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes as she nodded, her voice choked with emotion. "Ethan, I've been yours for a long time. Yes, I'll marry you." They had a small, intimate wedding surrounded by their closest friends and family. There was no grandeur, just warmth and love. Their 3 little miracles, cradled in their parents' arms, were the center of attention and blessings. After the wedding, Ethan and Sophia focused on building a brighter future together. Ethan redefined the mission of Graves Biomedical Solutions, steering the company toward humanitarian medical advancements and infertility solutions. Together, they established a charitable foundation, the Miracle Project, dedicated to supporting orphans and struggling single mothers. At the foundation's launch event, Ethan addressed the audience. Family isn't just about blood ties. It's about the people who love each other and overcome every obstacle to create something beautiful together. Over time, Ethan and Sophia found the perfect balance between work and family. One peaceful afternoon, they sat on a grassy hill, watching their 3 children play. Sophia leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder, sighing contentedly. "Do you ever have regrets?" Sophia asked softly, leaning her head against Ethan's shoulder. Ethan's eyes lingered on their children, their laughter ringing through the crisp air. He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her closer. "Not a single one," he said firmly. "Every struggle, every choice, it all brought me to this moment, to you, to them." His voice softened, filled with emotion. "This is my legacy, Sophia. Not the company, not the success. It's this. Our family. This is what matters most." The story closed with the laughter of their children echoing along the Hudson River. Family above fame and wealth is where true happiness begins.